Seduced by Darkness, the grim reality behind romanticizing serial murderers. Dark fascination, then and now. Our cultural fascination with darkness, figures who transgress moral and legal boundaries, has deep historical roots. From medieval broadsides recounting the crimes of outlaws, to Victorian penny dreadfuls, to 20th century true crime magazines, societies have long packaged deviance as spectacle. Early criminologists like Cesare Lombroso searched for the born criminal, pathologizing deviance as biological destiny, while Émile Durkheim argued that crime is a normal feature of social life, clarifying the boundaries of collective morality. In the 20th century, psychology shifted the frame. Freud located aggression and eros within the psyche, behaviorists highlighted reinforcement, and later, social cognitive theories explored how scripts and schemas shape attraction and imitation. Contemporary frameworks, attachment theory, dark triad research, narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and parasocial relationships help explain why some individuals are magnetized by lethal charisma while others recoil. Today's media ecosystem accelerates these dynamics, rendering the transgressive both hypervisible and algorithmically intimate. The allure and its dangers. Allure is not random, it's patterned. Research on the dark triad shows that superficial charm, dominance displays, and risk-taking can read as confidence, especially to individuals with anxious or disorganized attachment. In early courtship, these traits masquerade as protectiveness and uniqueness. But the same traits often predict callousness, infidelity, and coercion. Case studies illuminate the pattern. Consider the prison fan clubs that formed around infamous offenders, letters infused with rescue fantasies, marriages by proxy, and social media accounts reframing violent histories as misunderstood romance. In less extreme contexts, partners describe a lightning-fast bond, love bombing, mirroring, and future faking, followed by isolation and control. Media narratives play a role. Biopics with moody lighting, podcasts that linger on charisma, and TikTok edits that aestheticize cruelty can all recode danger as desirability. Hybristophilia, the sexual or romantic attraction to people who commit serious crimes, sits at the nexus of fantasy, identification, and power. Clinically, it's not a standalone diagnosis, but a pattern that can emerge alongside trauma histories, high sensation seeking, or a desire to possess what others fear. Some experience a caretaker fantasy, the belief that love can heal the harmful, others an outlaw fantasy, borrowing status from proximity to danger. Either path can lead to minimization of harm and personal risk. Sadistic habits and their impact. Sadism exists on a spectrum, from everyday cruelty, humiliation, degradation, enjoyment of another's pain, to criminal violence. Psychological profiles of everyday sadism often include low empathy, moral disengagement, instrumental use of others, and sensational boredom that seeks intensity. In relationships, these traits map onto patterns. Testing boundaries with jokes, escalating to private contempt, financial control, sexual coercion, and at the extreme, physical violence. Partner testimonies show a progressive arc. Early on, excessive attention, gifts, and intimacy disclosures that create a fast bond. Middle phase, sharp rules, tests, and induced jealousy. Later, gaslighting, surveillance of devices, threats toward pets or family, and forced dependency. Survivors describe oscillations between cruelty and intermittent kindness that forge trauma bonds, making leaving feel both dangerous and unthinkable. Escalation is rarely random. Abusers often probe for limits, expand through plausible deniability, and then normalize the harm. Risk spikes around key moments: pregnancy, attempts to leave, or when public image is threatened. Documentation, photos, timestamps, financial records, safety planning, and specialized advocacy become crucial. The consequences of romanticizing violence. Romanticization has layered costs. Psychologically, victims and bystanders may absorb cognitive distortions. It's not that bad, I can fix them, everyone is against our love. Trauma manifests as hypervigilance, dissociation, shame, and complex PTSD. Communities may become complicit, liking, sharing, and monetizing content that sanitizes harm. Public perception bends under narrative weight. When storytellers foreground charisma and minimize victim voices, the social script tilts toward empathy for the aggressor and skepticism of the harmed. This affects juror attitudes, sentencing, and media coverage. Legally, romantic involvement can entangle people in conspiracy, harboring, obstruction, or aiding and abetting, even when intent is protective. When fantasy turns to horror. First-person narratives often begin with enchantment. No one ever understood me like they did. Then come the compromises, ignoring a slammed door, a cruel joke, a password demand. Warning signs coalesce: rapid intimacy, isolation from friends, relentless testing, contempt for boundaries, a thrill in others' discomfort, and fear that grows without a clear cause. Recovery stories share common threads. A confidant who reflected reality back, a documented timeline that broke the spell, a therapist versed in coercive control, and a safety plan that treated leaving as a process, not an event. Healing emphasizes nervous system regulation, breathwork, EMDR, somatic therapies, rebuilding social capital, and reclaiming narrative through art, advocacy, or testimony. Why are we drawn to darkness? Attraction to darkness blends evolutionary curiosity, threat monitoring, novelty-seeking, and identity work. Forbidden figures offer symbolic resources: rebellion against conformity, a fantasy of absolute agency, and a way to metabolize fear by approaching rather than avoiding it. Algorithms amplify this by rewarding arousal, outrage, fascination, shock over nuance. Attachment histories matter. Inconsistent caregiving can wire attraction to volatility. Secure histories tend to prize predictability and mutuality. Culture matters too. Glamorized antiheroes and redemption arcs can obscure ongoing harm. True crime culture and its effects. True crime can educate and memorialize, but it can also commodify. Ethical storytelling centers victims, informed consent, and context. Unethical variants aestheticize perpetrators, harvest shock for clicks, and invite parasocial romance with predators. For audiences, overexposure can heighten fear, desensitize empathy, or distort risk perception, stranger danger over intimate partner violence. For families, re-traumatization is common. Creators and platforms carry responsibility. Content warnings, resource links, survivor collaboration, and a refusal to glamorize. Audiences can practice critical consumption, ask whose voice is missing, who profits, and what behaviors are being normalized. Breaking the cycle, seeking help and healing. If you recognize these dynamics, help exists. First, map the situation. Document incidents, stash copies in secure locations, and confide in a trusted person. Create a safety plan that includes code words, emergency cash, and safe places. Contact specialized hotlines or advocates who understand coercive control. General couples counseling can be unsafe when there is active abuse. Therapeutic options include trauma-focused CBT, EMDR, and modalities addressing shame and nervous system dysregulation. For some, group work with survivors reduces isolation. For loved ones, learn about counterdependency, boundaries, and how to support without rescuing. If you're experiencing attraction to violent figures, explore the fantasy with a clinician. What needs does it serve? Power, protection, novelty, repair. Building alternative sources of awe, intensity, sports, art, and secure attachment can redirect the drive. Choose clarity over glamour. Dark charisma thrives in ambiguity. Clarity about patterns, risks, and our own vulnerabilities is protective. As consumers, we can reward ethical storytelling. As friends, we can believe and resource survivors. As partners, we can set and honor boundaries. If this material touches your life, consider these resources. National Domestic Violence Hotline, U.S. 1-800-799 SAFE in the hotline.org. RAIN for Sexual Violence. RAIN.org. Love is Respect for Teens and Young Adults. Love is Respect.org. UK. National Domestic Abuse Helpline. 808-2247. If you're in immediate danger, call local emergency services. Healing is possible, help is available.